everybody, welcome to another episode of Shooting the Shift. That's Matt.
Hello.
I've successfully annoyed Bryn with the number of times we've had to start this episode already. And this is the Donald Trump week, where we're all wearing orange, except for Bryn, who didn't want to take...
Sunset's getting orange on my face.
So, Matt, why don't you show the ladies and gentlemen that are watching one of the new releases of merch that we've got. It's a slap sticker.
Nearly in the middle. Nearly in the middle.
It's a slap sticker, ladies and gentlemen, with a Hakazuka skyline on it, and the year that we actually started the clothing brand, and the name of it. So, if you want to help us out and advertise our company on your car with that sticker, just go to the website, violentrunning.co.uk, and buy it. And now
That's
that we've...
not Violent Running, it's just there.
Yeah. In tiny little letters. Right? So, yeah, so if you want to grab one of those, grab that. We've done a new limited edition drop. We've dropped that in a t-shirt design as well. So you can go check those out. And now that we have successfully circumvented YouTube's lack of monetization for our channel, help us get monetized so we don't have to interrupt your listening with this in the future, and hit the like and subscribe button. This week, we are going to be talking about cars that are coming out this year. Some of them have probably already come out this year because we're like 5/12 of the way into the year.
And if it's anything like FIFA games, 2021 cars start being sold in like the end of 2020.
That's true as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird how that works. You can buy what year are we in? We're 2021, so you can buy a 2022 plated car from September, I think it is.
Oh, that's the worst.
It's really bizarre.
It's just, I think it's just the dating structure, isn't it? So
yeah, it's just the way it works.
So I think the thing that everybody wants to know, Matt, is there any good news?
If your good news includes the Dacia Sandero, then yes. I mean, it's...
so Dacia. How'd you pronounce that?
I was
in the
doing
comments?
a James May impression. He says Dacia.
Okay.
I have an Italian friend that shouts at you if you say Dacia.
There's no H in it.
It's an $8,000 car, right?
I mean, it's the cheapest Super Mini on sale at the moment.
I mean, what's super about?
It's small.
It's super bland.
In fact, it might be the cheapest Super Mini on sale, but I don't think it's the smallest Super Mini
on sale.
So
really importantly, if you have a combination of no money and no imagination, go and take your $8,000 down to a Dacia dealership and buy a Dacia Sandero.
Anyway, that's a facelift. Moving on.
Good. That's as much as anyone needs to... Oh, they've got another one!
Why have they released an electric car? Because everybody's got to by 2030. Okay. But like, what I really want to know is, what is it with like... So most brands have gone with like a blue accent to their electric cars, and
they've gone orange.
Yeah, why have Dacia gone orange?
It reminds me of the Citroen DS3.
Yeah, it does just look like a Citroen. It really does.
But the thing, I'm just reading through our notes again because we've done all our research before. Although it only has 43 horsepower and a range of 140 miles.
What's that powered by? Old people scooter batteries.
Like, there's literally hamsters in it.
So it's going to be it's an electric car. So it's an SUV. So it's going to be on the higher side of 1,500 kilos, probably closer to 2 tons. And it has 43 horsepower. It's going nowhere.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so moving on. Nobody wants to know about the new Fiesta facelift model because who cares?
That they've crashed already.
We don't know what it looks like because the only picture I could find was in camo. So but it's just another Fiesta. I don't like how the current one.
And then the other one we found, like in that Super Mini category, was a facelift of the Mini. And there's only it's like a Porsche. There's only so much you can do to a Mini, right?
The thing I want to point at, what I want to say about Minis is I absolutely hate the rear lights that they've got on them.
Oh, the weird Union Jack thing.
Yeah, the half Union Jack on either side. That would be fair enough if Mini was still a British company. But for some reason, BMW treat Mini as a British company, despite the fact it is a BMW.
Because that's branding, Matt. They know that nobody wants to buy a German car anymore in case they're being lied to about the diesel emissions.
The problem I have with the Mini is it's called a Mini.
Yeah, it's not a mini because you could probably fit like 2 minis inside a Mini.
What I am glad about, I'm just reading back through our notes again. And it says that it features a lot more black trim than before. And I'm glad that, and I've seen this on a few manufacturer websites now where like BMW and Jag, for example, offer a black pack so that you don't have to buy the car with chrome around the windows and chrome grills and all of this. A lot of cars just look so much better with black on. And to be fair, everybody has their own personal preference, so it's nice that you get the option.
Yeah, so like Super Minis again, like very quickly glossing over a couple. Skoda Fabia. Yeah. I mean, who cares about a facelifted Polo? Yeah. Citroen C4, it's French. Don't buy it; it's going to break down.
DS4.
The DS4, don't buy it; it's French in disguise. It's going to break down.
They've done the weird Peugeot light thing as well.
Yeah,
I'm really not a fan of it. Really not a fan of these new strip lights that everybody's doing.
There's a new Focus. That's just a big Fiesta.
Yeah,
but now the next one that we found is really disappointing. Right? Completely disappointing. Because what they've done is they've taken the quite interesting looking Civic that exists right now
and they've tried to make it look like a BMW.
I was just looking at the rear quarter again and it does scream BMW at you.
That whole thing looks like a BMW.
It's not got a big enough grille, Bryn.
Yeah, well, they're trying to get into that market gap now. Everyone's looked at what BMW.
The thing is, I keep looking at the sedan Civic, and I think they'd do better if they called it something else because it is essentially a saloon car.
No, do you know what? It does better when they put the Type R styling pack on all of them, and then they can all look fun.
What, that one where you can pay to have loads of little winglets that, if you're on the road, make you look like a massive nonce, and if you're on a track, make you look like a massive nonce. That Type R styling.
Yeah, that one.
That's the one.
Anyway, moving on from that.
So the iconic 5, right?
So that's
out in spring. It's spring now,
isn't it?
I like it.
I am into that car. So we're gonna pop a. We'll pop a picture of that up.
I'm into these electric cars that manufacturers are doing something completely different with.
Yeah,
the Honda E.
Yeah,
is a good example.
Love it. There's one that lives on my street, and every time I see it, I go, "I'd have that."
Yeah, and the thing is, I did a lot of research into this, and a lot of reviewers are comparing it to like the Mini E and the Corsa E, and on paper, it is the worst car. In the real world, they would buy the Honda E over everything else. Because it's got so much more character than everything else.
It's adorable.
I have so much time for that car. Like, you know, if I can get the 30 grand together.
That's its downfall. Its price tag because it's a lot.
Yeah, it's not cheap. But so 30 grand cars. What's a Tesla Model 3? That's about the same, isn't it?
You're looking at least 50 for that second hand. I think they're more like 70 plus.
God, that's like 8 Dacias.
The problem I have with the 30 grand price tag is you can go and buy a brand new BMW for that, like a 3 Series.
Yeah, but nobody wants the.
Yeah, but how big's the grill?
No.
No one wants to drive around in a rampant rabbit, Matt.
We'll cover that. Speaking of horrible Peugeot grills,
okay,
308 coming as a plug-in hybrid for the first time. Anyway. And there's a new Astra I think it's a facelift Astra, which I don't hate.
What does that look like? That looks like something Vauxhall did once. It's like a Tigra or something. It's like
I know what you mean.
It looks like a fat Tigra.
But the thing for me for this is it's coming with a 296 horsepower plug-in hybrid.
That's decent.
That's 300 horsepower. You're pushing like Focus RS with that. But
So
I imagine it's still going to be front-wheel drive because Vauxhall just go,
everything
yeah,
is.
we'll stick all the power through the front. Fine.
So actually, getting back to that electric car thing, right? You can spend 30 grand on your Honda E. I've just done a quick bit of research. Actually, the standard plus trim on the Tesla is 40.
Oh,
I
wow,
would
Honda
say
East.
I would buy the Honda E and pocket my 10 grand.
I don't know. I've never driven a Tesla, so I couldn't say. I'd have to go and drive them both. But
That is untrue,
thing is-
Matthew. You have driven a Tesla.
I have. You're right.
And that's how unmemorable it was.
No, the thing is, I wasn't driving the Tesla in view of buying it. I've driven a Honda E in view of buying it, so I wasn't really fiddling with all the buttons. And it was a borrowed, and it was a friend's Tesla.
Yeah,
So
that
I couldn't
friend-
sit there and press through all the menus and fiddle with everything.
Phone
like
his
you can on a-
wife, all that stuff.
Yeah.
To be fair, that friend did let me shoe it, which was quite good.
Yeah, he did. And the thing is, he had the basic model.
Yeah.
And the basic Tesla is still fast.
Yeah, it's a good car, but it's not a new car. So sorry, Elon Musk, you
Anyway,
don't have to
moving
pay
on.
us this week.
So we are into the small SUV category.
Oh,
Oh God, my least
Right,
favorite kind
so-
of car.
I think the
This will
only thing
be a gloss over because none of these are interesting.
I think the only thing to say about the small SUV character is if you buy one, you are either a nonce or a moron.
So my agreement with this is we're talking like
I'm really
5
hoping
or
he says
6.
he had a small SUV.
That's that basically. So about 5 or 6 years ago, I got given a hire car to be sent to a company meeting, and they gave me a Hyundai iX35, which is basically a small SUV.
Yeah.
And it had a little spec sheet with it. It was a 1.7 and it was front-wheel drive, so there was no reason to buy it to go off-road. It was only 5 seats, so if you really, any estate would have done the same job and been lighter and been more fuel efficient. If you really wanted a Hyundai, you'd have bought the i40. And I drove it and I just couldn't find a reason to buy it. We parked in a multi-story car park and I couldn't open the boot.
I mean,
Does
I
it
have
hit
that
the ceiling?
problem. I have that problem in the Spike, but I'd certainly rather
You're a
have a
toaster.
Spike than a small SUV.
Yeah, so let's gloss over this list. BMW X2 facelift.
BMW X2
63
facelift. Actually, confused here. Is it really a BMW if it doesn't have Bugs Bunny's teeth for a grille?
It is the least awful BMW grill out there.
I don't think they've updated all of the grills yet, so it's probably coming. It says here bigger grills will feature, and it's in the whole sort of disguise. We've bolted something crappy on the front to make you not know what it looks like.
But they made it. But it looks better with the. Do you think
Yeah,
I
it
can
does.
tell them? Can you give me the test version, not the shit grill?
Yeah. What else have we got? Citroen C3 Aircross,
Which is
facelift.
doing its best job to try and be a multipler.
Yep.
Honda HR-V.
Yeah.
That's the like the CR-V hybrid equivalent. I think.
Yeah. No, they're.
Special.
I've got a little bit of time for them. They're quite a good little. If you've got like 20 kids and you need to put 1 million prams in the boot, there's a moderately sensible reason for them.
Yeah, but
Then
looking at the boot,
you've got a Hyundai Bayon, which basically
Just like a Citroen.
It reminds me of the old Nissan Juke with the 2 lights.
I was gonna say the baby Land Rover, the Evoque.
Yeah, no,
See-
all I can see is on the Duke you have the light on the top and then the big light underneath on the older style, and that's just what I see there.
I can
And
just
it
see
looks
Citroen.
really upset. It looks like it's frowning.
Yeah. See, the problem with almost all of these cars at the moment, right, is like.
Hang on.
The
The problem I have with the Hyundai Bayon is the 1 litre petrol engine.
But it's not even that. It's not even that, right? So you've got one small SUV from Hyundai that's coming out this year, but there's also a facelift Kona coming out from Hyundai this year, and it makes me ask the genuine question of Hyundai: why do you need 2 overpriced tiny little SUVs?
Well, this is the same. Ford's doing this as well because you've got the Ford Puma, is one of them. They've done like the jacked up Fiesta.
Yeah.
I think they've done a jacked up KA as well. It's like we're at a point now where people are only buying SUVs to a point where the Mondeo is not being sold anymore.
And then after you've got those two Hyundais coming, you've got what for me is the most pointless Lexus of them all, which is the UX 300. And the reason it's pointless is it has no boot. You're not putting the golf clubs in the boot.
I had the same dilemma when I went to look at a new hybrid Corolla.
Yeah.
Because they've got the batteries for the hybrid system in the boot. You know how when you open the boot, usually the hatchback, you get about 6 inches or so of drop, and then you've got the boot floor. The Corolla is flat.
Yeah.
So there's no boot in it at all.
I think like skipping ahead a few of the ones we found, right? Good news for everybody. There is a new Subaru. Don't get excited though. Because there is no more of a stereotypical mum bus being released this year than the XV.
The thing is, Subaru stopped doing
anything fun.
Like they used to get stuff like the Forester as well as the normal STI. And it's Although to be fair, they are making the BRZ. Not that you can buy one because you've just gone buy a GT86.
Yeah, I mean,
same car, and there's more available.
And then family sized stuff. Like, just looking through what we know is coming out this year, you've got a Hyundai Tucson, a Citroen C5, you've got the Jaguar E-Pace plug-in.
Ugh.
You've got
Jag have been working on their hybrids for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
Everyone's doing hybrids now.
You've got the Nissan Ariya.
I've forgotten about this picture. Maserati Gracile, and they've basically given us the blurriest picture they could possibly do, despite the fact that it looks like it's in the sort of camo as well.
Yeah, and like, you know, I'm not putting every car up this episode, and there's no point in me showing you this picture. I can do a really good impression of it if I just grab my phone a minute and flick the torch on. This is what that picture looks like.
Yeah. To be fair, I don't hate the look of the Nissan Ariya.
That's what I was saying. That is an interesting looking car, right? So that is going to be one of the ones. That's going to be one of the ones that flies across the screen.
The problem I have with this, and it's the same with Mazda's MX-30, is it's their first venture into electric cars, but they're making them SUVs, and I don't want an SUV.
Oh, but everybody else does.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
But the thing with that Nissan, though, and both of the Nissans that they're releasing this year, at least you can tell it's a Nissan. I'm driving around these days, and there's so many new cars, and I literally have not got a clue what they are because everybody has completely lost their brand image.
Yeah.
Everything just exactly the same and completely unidentifiable.
I had the same thoughts when I saw the Ford Puma for the first time. I saw about 5 or 6 of them before I saw the badge on the back and worked out what it was.
So I'm going to come back at Bryn with this and say there's a few manufacturers who have stayed on brand, but they're really expensive. Like the new Porsche Macan, right? Getting back on the
electric
topic.
Macan.
So, the new electric one. That's a Porsche.
Yeah.
The thing for me, the defining part of the Porsche is that they've gone to this. Each of the headlights have a square, like 4 dots, and that you see that and you go, "That's a Porsche."
Yeah,
and
that's
the same way. It's the same thing that BMW had and sort of still have with their sort of halo lights.
You mean BMW and their grills?
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm talking about headlights, but yes.
Yeah.
To be fair, Mazda are on point with their styling at the front. They're all pretty similar.
And actually, we've joked about the Peugeot grill, but you know a Peugeot's a Peugeot now.
Yeah, but that's good. It's mostly the German stuff I've found. Like, I can't tell a BMW from an Audi from a VW anymore because they've all just gone, what we need to do is make everything super angular and take all definition out of it. And I just cannot tell what's what anymore.
I mean, there's nothing... There is nothing interesting that...
I forgot forgotten about the Range Rover crossover.
Yeah.
A brand that
literally.
actually makes 4x4s has gone the other way. They've gone, wait, everybody wants big cars now. All right, well, let's make a crossover. Why?
But what they've done is put 27-inch wheels on it with tyres that are about that thick.
It's a donk. That is what they've done. Range
it's a
Rover
donk.
have
It is a
made a
donk.
donk.
It looks stupid. Stop it, Range Rover.
It's
Stop it, everyone.
I tell you what, though,
Die.
this Renault Megane E-Vision is weird looking.
I'm not into the E-Vision at all.
But this brings a good point though. Is they're doing this with a lot of electric cars, and I think this is the reason that it's weird. Is they don't need a grille on the front, so they're all smooth on the front.
Yeah.
And it just looks off. Also, I don't like the thing that they're doing with the light. So they put like where the Renault logo sits, they put a white LED light all the way around it. And a lot of manufacturers have started doing this on the back of cars as well. So there is a Renault, I think it's Kadjar, there's a red light that goes all the way across, stops the logo, hops over the logo, and then goes across. Now it's awful.
So
Audi, one of the Audis have got a red line all the way across, and they just look awful.
I've seen a few with light up logos actually, and it's really distracting.
Yeah, there you go. This Skoda N.
That's a BMW. That's a BMW. I'm
It's got
sorry.
a BMW grille,
That's a BMW.
but it's
Right.
got the same LED light all the way across.
Yeah, right.
Have a word with yourselves.
Genuinely, let's quit with the boring SUVs. Let's
SsangYong are doing electric.
That looks cool, but it looks like a Nissan. What is that? What is that tiny, cute little Tesla? Oh my god!
Oh, the Model Y. Yeah.
That looks
Bam, you
like
have to make sure you put a picture of that up because that looks like a toy car version of a Tesla.
Yeah,
that
it
looks
does,
like a
it
cartoon
really does.
Tesla. I want one even more. Screw the Honda E. I want one of these.
Tiny Tesla.
Isn't that the one? Isn't the Model Y the one with the gull wing rear doors?
That's the X, I think. I don't know whether the Y has, but I know the X is the...
Right. So anyway, let's look. Everything we're talking about is boring and depressing, and you're going to see 4 million of them outside the school, and they're going to pollute the planet. And because of them polluting the planet in their boring mum buses, I am going to have to pay a absolute boatload of money to fuel anything fun because everything's going to be E10. So let's move on to fun stuff, right? Because there is some fun stuff coming out next year. There's a lot of supposedly fast SUVs coming.
I've never been a fan of these because you take something like... So I think Top Gear did this. They took a Range Rover, whatever the SVR, the top spec supercharged V8 version is, and stuck it round Donington. And it was only just faster than a John Cooper Works Mini.
Yeah, but it's also like 5 times the size.
It's also 5 times the price.
Well,
The
at
only
least
acceptable
you're getting
fast-
an equal amount of car for your money.
The only acceptable fast SUV was that Slam Duke that Nissan did.
Oh, the bonkers one that was GTR.
No,
powered.
that
wasn't actually a Nissan.
No, that was what's the name of the company?
It was a tuning company. I met them at Autosport one year. They were on the GTR OC stand, and they built 2.
Is it?
Yeah. They built. I can't remember the name of the company. They built.
No,
2,
I can't remember either.
They built 2 of these Nissan Dukes that they just squeezed the entire R35 drivetrain and engine into.
The best one they did was a Nissan Qashqai. And they did the same thing, GTR 35 engine and running gear, so it's all-wheel drive like an R35. Only they tuned it to 1,500 horsepower and left the external of the Qashqai absolutely stock.
I think, yeah. And right, so you know, you've got things coming out like, obviously, Seat.
What's that?
What's what?
That's an Aston Martin.
Yeah, the Lagonda SUV. And you know what?
Give up.
Right, so
Just give up.
It's got an
the
overbite.
Lagonda, right? No, so the Lagonda SUV, and there's another SUV that's a really interesting shape. Yeah, and that is the Cybertruck.
Oh god, yeah,
The
that's
Tesla.
Yeah.
Like
I don't know whether that's actually coming.
I don't get how I don't get how that's a pickup truck.
Because it's got pickup behind the rear seats. It's a 4-cab pickup truck.
That's the world's smallest pickup bed. My Hijet probably had a bigger pickup bed than that.
Do you want to buy? Do you want to spend £100,000 on a Defender?
If it's a V8, then yeah, I might be into that.
5-litre V8.
I'll give them this, right, because the last new Land Rover looked like somebody had melted a jelly sweet, and it was awful. The worst looking thing I've ever seen. I've seen a few of these out on the road, and they're not bad. Apart from whoever did the rear lights, this is directly addressed to you. What the hell were you thinking? They had this really nice little square design going on, and it looks great. And then somebody went, "Oh, we forgot the indicator." So they put another little square that's just completely out of line with everything else on the side.
Have they just made the Instagram logo out of lights?
Yeah, not quite. But like, it looked great. And then there's this other little side light that just, oh my god.
I mean, again, the fast SUV,
so close.
The fast SUV stuff. You know, Cupra from Seat is now like a little tiny sub brand.
I just want to bring up Volkswagen's current naming thing, because they're going with the ID naming convention for their electric cars. But this one is called ID Rooms, and that's room with 2 Zs.
Honestly,
but they're not English, so we'll allow a spelling mistake here and there, Matt. I genuinely
that's enough SUVs.
They're just boring and depressing.
Fun cars.
Let's go hot hatches first.
No, gotta save hot hatches to the end of the episode, because there is like another car that we need to discuss as well. So like Audi, they've got an e-tron. There's a new BMW 2 Series, which doesn't have a giant buck-tooth grille. Interestingly.
So, thank God.
So what I learned the other day was doing some research is why they introduced the 2 and the 4 Series. So what happened was you had the 1 Series and you had the coupe, the hatchback, the convertible, all of that. Yeah. What they did was basically leave the hatchback as the 1 Series, which is now front-wheel drive, and moved the coupe and the convertible to the 2 Series.
Yep.
And then they did the same with the 3 Series. So the normal saloon and the estate sits under the 3 Series brand, then the coupe and the convertible sit under the 4 Series brand.
And I'm really glad you brought me to the new 4 Series, right? The new M4, which categorically looks, and I'm going to put a picture on the screen, right? Like Sid the Sloth, Darth Vader, and they had love babies.
Yeah, it's not a good-looking car.
So when I initially saw this, I'm like, no, it's awful, and everybody said the same thing. And I thought, well, all that'll happen is the same as when we had that offset number plate bracket thing on the rear of one of the new Discovery. All somebody will do is just make a new bumper with a normal grille on it, and they'll make an absolute killing.
Yep.
But what BMW have done is where the grills are now so big, they're taller than where the bonnet is. So there's now a bulge in the bonnet that matches the lines of where the grills sit. So if you wanted to get rid of that completely, you'd have to change the bonnet as well. Or have the top of your bumper have this weird bump in it.
I just hate that they're being really arsey about it as well. Everyone's like, this looks awful. And all of their marketing is basically, you're wrong, this looks great, and you just don't realise it yet. No, it looks awful!
That is genuinely the thing.
One of their adverts that came up on Facebook, and it basically said, the car is more than just the grille, and then had a flashback of all their old cars that had teeny tiny grills.
I mean, you know, the side of that is, though, Brady, is BMW and Volkswagen Audi Group have been telling people for years what they should think of their cars, right? VWs are not the most reliable cars, and yet somehow they have a reputation for it. They can't even build a timing chain that doesn't stretch. 1.4 TSI engine. Thank you very much, you magical German nonces. That successfully cost me £6,000, just to clarify. That there was issues with that engine twice. Right?
Not personal vendetta here at all.
No personal vendetta here at all. But just don't buy a VW. They're useless.
Don't.
And they're telling us what we have to think all the time about German cars. And actually, you've got some really quite cool other brands doing interesting stuff at the moment, right? BMW have just gone, we're going to put the biggest grille we can possibly fit on the car to the point where we have to modify the bonnet. Whereas, actually, the Peugeot grills are quite big and probably larger surface area. But at least they don't look rubbish on the car.
They've integrated the design with the rest of the...
Yeah.
So what I think one of the worst things that BMW have done here, so it used to be the grille was at the top,
Yeah.
and then you had an opening at the bottom, which most cars do. They have the grille and then a bit at the bottom, and that's part of the bumper structure. But what they've done is made the grille so long that it eats into where that bottom piece was, in such a way that they've left the bottom piece there and put the grills over the top. So it just looks like they've taken massive grills and just stuck them on the front and just not bothered redesigning the bottom.
Like the front end of a roller. And I reckon that's what they're going for. They're going for... Because you know an old roller is an old roller because of that front grille, right? And I think that's what they're going for.
They're going the wrong way about it.
Oh, I'm not denying that. I'm not denying that at all. I mean, like, there's enough of this rant about German cars because I think we've been going about 5 minutes just on that. The new MG E-Motion, right? Getting onto coupes, and
looks cool. Looks like a Jag, though.
That is going to fly across the screen right now. That is a pretty thing. It looks very much... Did you just say it looks like a Jag there, Bren?
Looks like a Jag.
Does look very much like a Jag, but then it's a classic British brand, and the Chinese have never ripped off anyone's style or imagery ever.
The grille is very Mercedes. That's what Mercedes are doing with their grills these days.
With the little stubby like bit of Peugeot's grills in it as well.
Yeah. But I like what they've done with the headlights.
Yeah, they're nice.
It's sort of blended the daytime running lights in around the edge.
Yeah.
So it's not obnoxious and it's not sat behind a lens, but I like that.
It's definitely one of the best looking cars that we've seen so far. It's
and
not quite as good as the Kia Stinger, in my opinion, but it's pretty up there.
So
the Kia Stinger?
It's not new, but it's...
circling back to... Because this is all electric.
Huh?
And the Honda E was 30 grand and a little hatchback and a range of 124 miles.
Yeah.
This is 30 grand.
What?
It's a coupe that looks like it has 4 seats because I can see some seats in the back. And it offers over 300 miles of range.
Colour me interested, boys.
0 to 60 in 4 seconds.
MG, I will see you at the end of the year.
Yeah.
I'm interested.
That is the kind of car, right, that I would put my swanky suit on, drive down to head office in London, and ponce about, basically.
Yeah.
Looking like I've made it with my cheap car.
And
I reckon you could debadge that and convince people it's a Jag as well.
Yeah, I think you could. Nissan 400Z.
Yes!
One of the non-hybrid or electric cars on the list.
And also one of the only concept cars that still looks like that when they made the production version.
Yeah, so
Nissan, looking at this particular...
No, because we talked about Subaru earlier and the fact that they've just become boring, right? Nissan went through this phase of being boring, and Nissan and Toyota recently, it's like they've just gone, you know what, lads? It.
Yeah. The GR Yaris is a good example.
Yeah. It's like everybody else around the world is going, we're going to make something more economical. And the Japanese are going,
nah.
But I think it's different in a lot of ways, right? Because they've gone back to quite a retro look, but it looks retro future. The back end of this car is really clean and gives you those old school vibes, but like they were done in the future. And the other thing they've done is everybody else is really complicating the front of cars to make them look futuristic. This thing is really simple. There is nothing going on. It's just one colour and some headlights and a grille. There's no little spangly bits. There's no chrome trim. There's no weirdness. And it looks good for it.
The only thing the more I look at the picture, the more I don't like the actual grille opening at the front. Because the car itself is curved, like the 370 was. It's curved, it's got shapes to it, it's all round. and then they've just stuck this rectangle on the front.
No,
Yeah, that's
that-
going to
that-
get changed.
that-
People
that-
are going to do bumpers that look going to
That harks back to the like the 240Z and the 270.
Yeah, I know why they've done it, but they just needed to shape it just a little
really,
bit.
really like that.
If it had some little radii in the corners or a little bit of like
little
an
radii,
angle.
or if the vertical bits were just out a little bit like that.
Yeah,
That's all it needed.
But really importantly, boys, right? We know everybody's in the drive for fuel economy right now, right? It does. In this round town, it'll do 20 mpg, and on the highway, 28.
Yes,
Which
and
means you know it's gonna pack a punch.
Yeah.
Anyway,
in a manual as well, and everyone's excited about that.
Porsche 911 GT3 looks exactly the same as the old one.
Apart from the back ends of Porsches now are looking really good again.
This is a car I do like though, the Alfa Romeo Giulia. So the quadrifold, the one that I can't say. I think they're like 400 or 500 horsepower. Are they rear wheel drive or all wheel drive?
Yeah, but it's an Alfa,
like
so you're never
V6s.
taking it off the drive.
I do like the way that they look though.
Oh, they look fantastic.
I do really like these.
They look fantastic, which is really good because you're going to spend a lot of time outside it looking at it. And then you got the BMW i4, right?
I wish they'd make an estate version of the Alfa, by the way.
Yeah.
BMW i4.
Look, there's a whole series of BMW saloons with grills that are far too big for the car. There's a new, actually, Bryn, before you mentioned about the Kia Stinger, there is a new one.
So this is the thing. So the Kia and the Alfa came around at about the same time, and they went, these companies that have never really made performance cars have turned around and gone, we're going to make performance cars. And they come out with these two. And I like the way that both of them look. I think I prefer the Alfa.
Oh, the Alfa looks better, but when Kia came out with that, like just the shock value of Kia coming out with that.
Kia turned around and went, we're going to make a V6 rear-wheel drive saloon car with 400 horsepower.
Yeah, and that just
where did that come from?
Right there, immediately top step, like yes.
And they start from 42 grand.
Ooh, that's in that little sweet spot at the moment. So moving through quite a long way actually, right? I'm gonna dare to say the Volkswagen ID Space Visions with 2 Z's.
Oh God, not more Z's.
Oh yeah.
But that is a futuristic looking car.
This is what I mean about some of these manufacturers are taking the electric car and going, we can throw our normal design concepts out the window and do something completely mental.
Yeah, I think it's not. I personally wouldn't buy it, but I do. I would respect someone who went, I like it. It looks cool. That is a piece of design.
I don't hate it.
Yeah, and then
I don't think I like it. But looking at it, so 335 horsepower and 367 miles of range, and it looks like an estate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's like,
so I can get on board with that.
I saw that and I was like, it was white, and I was just like, that's a stagia for the future for me.
Can we just shout out the Porsche Taycan Gran Turismo Sport Cross thing, right? Because like that is when they came out with the first Ford or whatever, the Panamera, and that was just like, this is
bland.
Awful idea. Why have you done this? And now they've done this Taycan like cross thing, and it looks so badass because it's got that big mean look about it.
It's like a big,
but it's kind of practical.
It's
a good looking car.
It's like an old shooting brake design.
Yeah.
What they've managed to do is you look at the rear of a Porsche, and a normal like 911 is wider at the back than it is at the front, and you can see the big arches. And they managed to keep that shape while making it a 4-door shooting brake.
Yeah,
which more people need to do. Like that look of like the sleek estate is so underdone.
This particular picture as well. Yeah.
Okay, so coupe's done. There's going to be a whole we've bagged on the Germans enough this episode, really, and
at least. What I'm enjoying seeing is the fact that companies are starting to do performance estates.
Yeah.
Like for a long time, you couldn't buy an M3 estate and you had to build your own. out of two BMWs.
Which is a shame because the E92 needed an estate. That is the most gorgeous 3 Series they ever did.
I've just watched somebody do an E46 estate as well. And you can see why not many people do it, because he had to go through the hassle of cutting the floor out to do a dual exit exhaust and all this stuff. But I'm glad that people start. So we're looking at the Golf R estate, and I'm glad that the manufacturers are going, yes, we should make performance estates, because people actually want estates.
But right, boys, the hot hatch, one of the prettiest hot hatches I think I've seen in a while, has the least intimidating name possible.
Is it the Bourne?
It is the Cupra Bourne. That is a thing that, as an all-electric car, has gone, do you know what? Yeah, we don't need a massive grille. It
reminds me a little bit of the Honda Jazz.
Can't unsee it. Spam.
but also, if they'd called it Born with an E, like the film, I think it would have been better. But because it's just Born,
so
it's basically a VW ID3.
Yeah,
such an odd name.
Hyundai keep rolling up.
Oh. Hang on. It'll be rear-wheel drive.
Yeah, that's wrong, but yeah.
Rear-wheel drive skids in an electric hatchback.
I can't imagine that doing skids. It's going to look weird.
We're going to find out if they let us borrow one, though.
The Honda E is rear-wheel drive.
Yeah.
Boys, I'm going to have to get some finance.
So right, and then Hyundai are dropping N cars like no one's business.
They're not bad cars.
They're not. They're just it's a Hyundai and it's overpriced.
Yeah, it's just a smaller version of the i30.
Yeah.
But now this I'm on board with.
The Toyota
Corolla GR.
Yeah.
And it's basically the same engine that they put in the Yaris. It's the same 1.6 litre engine, but it's 250 horsepower.
And this brings us to the most important point of what we're saying in this episode is the Japanese are genuinely bringing performance vehicles out when I don't think actually the bulk of the mainstream manufacturers, I don't think we're going to see that again. Like it's only going to be about electric.
A lot of the mainstream ones dropped like really big hot hatches. So you had the Focus RS with 300 horsepower, the Civic with 300.
Yeah.
Peugeot dropped that 308 GTI out of nowhere. And then they just stopped. That was it, just one-offs. Where Toyota have gone, well, we're going to do this really crazy all-wheel drive Yaris GR with 250 horsepower. Then we've gone, well, we could put that in the Corolla and just shove this engine and drivetrain into Corolla and go, that'll do.
I think that's actually, that's a sensible play. Right?
Because they're still making the GT86. I think what's happened is they made that GT86 and it was affordable and it was a sports car, and then they've gone, that sold really well. People really want like performance cars. They don't want any of this 1 litre 3-cylinder turbo bullshit.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think I actually think that the GR Yaris is probably not the GR Yaris, sorry, the GR Corolla is that place tonight where we're done with the stuff we found, because that is an exciting car. I
would buy that. I'd buy the normal Corolla, to be honest.
I would not buy the normal Corolla, but
I'd buy the Yaris.
What, the GR?
Yeah.
Of the two, I'd buy the Corolla GR.
I think of everything that's coming out, and I definitely need to test one. So MG, if you're listening,
yes,
right? Let me have a go in one, please. Please let me have a go in one. I promise I will do my very level best to crash it by driving it like a complete hooligan. But let me have a go. Like, it is a thing of beauty, and I want to see if I can debadge it and convince everybody it's a Jag.
I tell you what, I knew Toyota was taking the GR Yaris seriously when Fernando Alonso had been out testing in it.
Yeah.
He was still driving for Toyota the LMP1 cars at the time. So he went out testing it.
But the really important thing about this, guys, is Nissan and Toyota are showing us the way. They're bringing performance vehicles back out again, yeah? Which leaves us with only one hope. Because they did go through a little bit of being boring and mature. Are we going to see Subaru and Mitsubishi step the game back up again?
No.
I don't think so.
No,
Nah.
don't do that to me, Bryn.
Nah, they don't even have a footprint anymore.
Because even Nissan teased a supercharged Pulsar, and I don't think that ever materialised.
I think the realistic thing is, you know, this list has a lot of electric cars in it.
There's a lot of electric and hybrid cars.
There's a lot coming out, and that's partly, you know, particularly in the UK, we're gonna see that, because if you don't start in 2021, you've got no market by 2030. And I honestly expect to not see anything new with a petrol engine in the UK after 2025.
I think the problem is a lot of countries are banning the sale of new internal combustion engines. But not only that, the vast majority, probably like more like 75% of people, don't care.
No.
And on top of that, manufacturers have to make and produce what sells, otherwise they're going to go out of business. They could turn around and go, "Oh, we only want to make V8 supercars," and if they don't sell because you can't sell them in half of the countries in the world, nobody will buy them, and you'll go out of business. So you've got to do stuff like crossovers and electrics and hybrids.
But can we not just have another one of those gentlemen's agreements like they had in Japan with the horsepower stuff, where all the manufacturers get around a table and go, "We're not going to make crossovers because nobody wants to drive, or nobody needs to drive them."
No. In fact, that's a really important point, because, as I said before, if you go and buy a crossover, what you're doing is taking a car that's heavier than it needs to be, with an engine that's smaller than it needs to be, which means the engine's doing more work to move its fat, lardy arse about. And I promise you, we could prove this, because if you made me and Bryn run a race, my heart rate would be about 500 times Bryn's, because I am the fat crossover in that scenario, and Bryn is the sleek saloon, right? And what that, and like, I'm going to have have a heart attack if we try and sprint, right? And that's the same thing for a crossover. But what that means is, it's not fuel efficient. You're churning stuff out the back end of it, and you're not being good for the environment. But then, like, I have to segregate all my rubbish into different bins because someone can't be bothered to not drive a stupid crossover.
The thing I want to say here is I think Toyota and Audi have got it right. So if you walk into an Audi or a Toyota showroom, you have the option of, I don't think Toyota have got any fully electric cars yet, but Audi have got like e-trons and stuff. You can go and buy a hybrid, or you can go and buy some sporty hot hatches from both of them. So obviously Audi have got the RS3 and Toyota have got the GR Yaris, and you've got that option. They're doing all of the things. Good. And they're doing them well. Yeah. Let's be honest. Both manufacturers are doing it well. And the problem you've got is the rest of the manufacturers are going, "We're only making hybrids and electric cars now."
And crossovers.
We'll ignore crossovers. Crossovers don't exist.
I wish.
Yeah. We'll save the crossover rant for another one, because I could go on.
No, let's not. People enjoy our rants. We get more subscriptions on rants, so here's a rant for you all. You've had one from me about crossovers. Bryn hates crossovers. Matt hates crossovers. I see no reason why we shouldn't spend at least 2 minutes on... because the bulk of these new releases, the bulk of these new cars are crossovers. And some of them are electric crossovers. And all an electric crossover says is, we were too lazy to shrink our tech.
Yeah. So the biggest problem I have with crossovers is when, it's going to sound really weird, but you could pull up to a T-junction, for example. I'm turning left. There's a crossover on the right-hand side turning right. And the T-junction itself is wide enough for 2 cars to be turning out at the same time.
Yep.
Crossover parks up. I park up. I can't see shit over this crossover because it's a mile high.
And that's why people are buying them. It's the only reason people are buying them. If anybody wants to buy a crossover and you ask them why, they cannot give you a reason that car is better than a non-crossover car.
Because
the answer is because they think bigger, better visibility, safety. Just stop. If none of you drove crossovers, you wouldn't need better visibility.
If you care about safety, go and buy a Volvo 240 Estate.
So I'm going to make one point in the defense of crossovers, and
think about this, Matt.
Hear me out. So
think about this very carefully, Matt.
So Nicole's mum every 3 years gets a disability car.
Okay.
That I'm not going to go into the reasons because you all don't need to know that. But 3 years ago, when we were allowed to go to events, we went to it was at the NEC. They had basically the Motability scheme had a sea of cars that you could have on the scheme, and the people as people do, they were chatting while they were waiting for a test drive. And one of the women that she was speaking to, I think she had a bad knee, and basically couldn't get into any car that was low. So she had to have a crossover so she could get in it.
Okay.
And that, as far as I'm concerned, is the only reason you should buy a crossover.
I see that logic behind having a crossover, and I'm going to come back to you with a concept. The Motability donk.
I'm not sure that they would want to modify cars like that.
But Motability modify cars all day, every day.
Yes, I know, but for a swivel chair in your front seat, it'll cost you $6,000.
Or you could put some 22s on it for the same amount of money.
Yeah, I'm going to get a Fiesta.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. We have fixed Motability with the Motability donk.
And we've fixed crossovers. That's it. No more crossovers.
By setting them all on fire as they leave the production line. So anyway, that's been an episode.
Yeah.
Last time I dared to say there's been no whooshy thing, there ended up having to be a whooshy thing.
Hey, Milton's not here. There's no whooshy things or explosions. It's fine.
That's true, actually. I know that he was really happy about the explosion though. But what he doesn't realise is that took me like a good 45 minutes to position right in his hands and get the explosion noise lined up perfectly with everything. And
that's why you've never seen one before now.
No. So actually, I think if you're gonna go out and you're gonna buy a car that's coming out this year, I think the Dacia Sandero.
The MG.
I'm not being serious about the Dacia Sandero, by the way.
I'm torn between the MG and the Corolla.
MG, Corolla, or I'd still have a Honda E.
It's already out, so it's not on the list.
It's not on the list, but
I would seriously consider a Honda E. I mean, I have seriously considered a Honda E, and I've been out and test driving one.
In my opinion, go out and get whatever you like, as long as it's not a crossover and you can identify it. That's it. If you can tell me what it is when it's the first time you've ever seen one, buy one.
Yeah.
It was fair. All right. Well, thanks to everybody who's watched again on this consumer advice special of shooting the ship.
New car special.
We've stayed on topic. There's been no swishy things. Milton's the problem?
We knew that.
Genuinely, hopefully Milts will be back next week. Next week, really excited to say next week, there will be... this week there's an unboxing from Motor Crate coming out on Wednesday. Next week, at some point during the week, there will be the first video for in excess of 12 months that contains new to us car footage. Because I am going to Formula G Round 2 to film Milton.
Nice.
Real life in-person cars.
Actual cars. I genuinely, I can't tell everybody how excited I am. We've kept, we kept the channel going. Everything went quiet for a bit. You boys were like, let's do a podcast together. Let's have a chat every week. And that's helped us get through lockdown. And we're still going to do the podcast. It might go to like 1 week in 2 whilst we're busy filming the really fun stuff that's the cars.
Yeah, it depends what shows are on and stuff.
Yeah. Like Yakutia weekend. Well, maybe we'll just do a live stream for like 20 minutes straight onto YouTube from the tent.
That'll go well.
It will go perfectly well when I sat getting delivered more and more moonshine throughout the episode.
Exactly.
But really importantly, guys, we want to thank you again for watching us. You'll have noticed the new magical little subscribe things that appear down in this corner that have all the instructions to help us game the YouTube algorithm so that we can one day monetize and get enough money in to build the sex spec Matiz.
Basically, we want to monetize so we can do more car stuff for you to watch. That's the whole point.
Yeah, it's not about making any money because we don't need money. We don't have any now.
And YouTube doesn't pay that well, and then you have to divide it by 4. It's not.
Oh wait, we don't. What? You expect money? I thought I just paid
No,
you
YouTube doesn't pay well enough.
I thought I paid you in the odd merch now and again.
No, I have to buy my merch.
That's very true.
I paid for this.
When you're supporting your friend's business, don't use the discount code.
No, I don't. I don't. I paid full price for this.
I know you don't. Stop gripping it like that before you mark it.
He can do what he likes. He paid for it.
I'll fold it in a minute.
No, you won't.
Don't do that. It's not a good idea. You can never.
I lost 4 of them when I sold the Mazda 6.
So before we descend into the chaos that happens after every week's episode, he's been Bryn. He's been Matt.
Bye from Orange Week.
I've been Bam. Thanks for watching. Hit like, hit subscribe. Let us know what you want to see in future episodes in the comments. Milton's back next week. And to do what Milton does every single week, cut!